So let's talk about Brexit. Everyone is going off about this Brexit thing, that it's going to be a victory of the people against the elites, against those faceless bureaucrats over there in Brussels. Those evil, evil elites. Boris Johnson's going to really, he is really going to be the bulwark against this elitist attack, this evil establishment attack against the British people, and also the bulwark for Britain, for the defense of Britain, to prevent this inundation of migrants, this flood of third world people, third world trash, who's going to just change the entire demographics of the country. So let's talk about this Brexit thing and what is going to be the ultimate result, the ultimate consequence of Brexit. Brexit was a result of British nationalism. Brexit was a result of a British nationalist fury against internationalism, against the idea of a pan-European state that Britain was embedded in, although not completely, because Britain wasn't under the Schengen. Britain didn't have the euro. It wasn't under the euro, but at the same time, Britain did benefit from free trade, and it also had strong veto power. And this is very, very significant. Britain, anytime Germany came up with this grandiose idea of a pan-European military force, Britain was the biggest obstacle to that enterprise. It was always against that enterprise. And so with Britain removed, well, Germany is going to hit the accelerator. And so there are several things that are going to transpire as a result of Brexit. For one, there was a very interesting article that came out recently. It was published by the Financial Times, and it was written by Gideon Rachman. And Gideon Rachman makes a very interesting observation about the geopolitical implications of a Brexit. So he says here, quote, "Rather than making life simpler for Germany, Brexit is making it more complicated. The UK is a major contributor to the EU budget, and without British money, Germany's contribution is bound to shoot up. Berlin is already deep into a tussle with southern European countries who want to see the EU budget expand significantly and expect Germany to foot the bill." So in other words, you have all these southern European countries that are asking for more money from the EU Treasury. They want more money from the European Union, and they expect Germany to pay for it. Another thing that is significant, that is written in this statement, is this. The UK is a major contributor to the EU budget, and without British money, Germany's contribution is bound to shoot up. So in other words, Britain is going to leave, and Germany is going to have to pay more money. And this is going to happen in the midst of poorer southern European countries like Greece and Spain and Portugal asking for more money and expecting Germany to pay for it. So therefore, Germany is going to get drained by the poorer countries. And then Rachman goes on to say, the German position is that the EU budget should not go above 1% of gross domestic product. But even if they can hold the line at that, they calculate that Germany's annual contribution would increase by 10 billion euros a year. So Germany is going to hurt economically, although it may seem that way. It may not be actually the case, or it may not be as bad as it sounds, or it may be exaggerated, but I think this is what's going to be an ultimate consequence. Germany is going to say, we have been abandoned by the second biggest economy in Europe. Britain is the second biggest economy in Europe. So leaving the EU will hurt the EU financially. It's going to force Germany to pay more money. On top of that, you are going to have the poor southern European countries being, quote-unquote, drains on the EU. Now, is that actually the case? Is that actually going to be the case? Maybe not. I don't know. But I think this is going to be the form of propaganda, the form or the type of argumentation that is going to be used as propaganda in order to boost up the German position. In other words, these poor, inferior countries, these poor, inferior Untermensches, these inferior people, are draining us because they are not compatible with our elite, superior German Übermensch culture. Now, if you think that that is far-fetched, that the Germans would actually talk like that, you would be wrong, because there was actually a guy from the AfD who said this very thing. He said that the cultures of Spain and Portugal and Greece and Italy, these countries are not compatible with the wonderful Germanic cultures of, let's say, Germany and Austria. I think the name of the politician who said this was, pretty sure it was, Alexander Gauland actually said this. Alexander Gauland said this very thing about Southern European countries, that these Southern European countries are not compatible with Germanic culture. So it's not far-fetched at all that people in Germany would actually talk like this. And here's the thing, is that war and militarism and nationalism, these things never spark just by themselves, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I want to be nationalist. Let's just do this. It happens based on a reaction to something. It happens as a reaction to immigration and as a reaction to economic diminishment, economic depression. So if Germany is left to foot the bill that Britain would have otherwise helped to pay, they are going to use that as propaganda. We have been abandoned economically and militarily by Great Britain. In fact, you are already seeing this sort of rhetoric. You have already been seeing this rhetoric since 2016. You've been seeing this. Not too long after the Brexit vote, there was an EU meeting in Bratislava, and there was no representative from Great Britain. Right? This hasn't happened before, ever, since Britain joined the European Union. This type of thing didn't happen. For the first time, no British representative in an EU conference. And what did the Germans talk about? A pan-European military force. What was their pretext? Our allies are no longer with us. What did Angela Merkel say? What has she been saying? We can no longer trust our allies, and they're focusing mainly on the United States and Great Britain. In fact, that's all they're focusing on. The United States, because the United States is saying, hey, Germany, pay your fair share. We don't want to pay for your defense anymore. You have Donald Trump telling the president of Ukraine, President Zelensky, don't trust Germany. Germany doesn't do anything for you. The United States has done so much for you. So what's happening? You are seeing the gradual intensification of tensions between Germany and the Anglosphere. And by Anglosphere, I'm talking about the English-speaking countries. So if Britain abandons Germany economically, financially, abandons the European Union, which is dominated by the German economy, this is going to be used as propaganda fodder to justify German militarism. And that's what's going to happen. It kind of reminds me of what happened after the First World War. Germany was in tremendous poverty, and you had hyperinflation galore. That's even an understatement, really. It came to the point where a loaf of bread cost like 200 trillion marks. It's like completely insane what was happening after the First World War. And then Germany had to go through all sorts of debts, and Germany was imposed with a huge amount of debt by the Allies because, Germany started the war and they lost it, so they have to pay for all the damage that they caused. And so Germany was suffering tremendous amounts of hyperinflation, and in the midst of all that, you had this spark in nationalism. War and militarism begins as a reaction to economic problems and other issues, like immigration. So if Britain leaves and Germany is left to pay the money that Britain would have otherwise paid, that is going to be used as propaganda fodder. Oh, they have abandoned us. Look, we are paying for all of these poor countries. These poor countries are draining us. And every crazy right-wing fanatic is going to make a voice for himself. Every right-wing lunatic is going to make a voice for himself. In fact, that is already happening with the rise of the AfD. So that's my prediction about what's eventually going to happen as a result of this Brexit. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.